Learning outcomes. Upon completion, you should be able to gain a general understanding of the NERC-CIP standards CIP-006-6 on physical security of BES cyber systems and CIP-007-6 on system security management. Recognize the requirements of each of the two NERC-CIP standards, CIP-006-6 and CIP-007-6.
CIP 006-6 Physical Security of Bulk Electric Systems. Purpose: to manage physical access to bulk electric system BES cyber systems by specifying a physical security plan in support of protecting BES cyber systems against compromise that could lead to misoperation or instability in the BES. CIP 6-6 Physical Security of BES Cyber Systems. Applicability: reliability coordinators, balancing authorities, interchange authority or coordinator, transmission owner operators, generation owner or operator, distribution provider that owns one or more of the following facilities, systems, and equipment for the protection or restoration of the BES. CIP 6-6 Physical Security of BES Cyber Systems. Continued applicability: each under-frequency UFLS or under-voltage UVLS load-shedding system that is subject to NERC or regional reliability standards and/or requirements and performs automatically under a common control system without human operator initiation of 300 megawatts or more. Each remedial action scheme that is subject to NERC or regional reliability standards and/or requirements, cranking paths and element groups meeting initial switching requirements from a black start resource up to and including the first interconnection point of the starting station service of the next generation units to be started. CIP 6-6 Physical Security of BES Cyber Systems. Requirements: a documented physical security plan or plans shall be implemented and include operational or procedural controls to restrict physical access, at least one physical access control for medium impact, allowing unescorted physical access into each physical security perimeter to those who have authorized unescorted physical access, two or more different physical access controls for high impact, to allow unescorted physical access into physical security perimeters to those who have authorized unescorted physical access, monitoring for unauthorized access through a physical access point into a physical security perimeter, an alarm or alert in response to detected unauthorized access through a physical access point into a physical security perimeter to personnel identified in the BES Cybersecurity Incident Response Plan within 15 minutes of detection. CIP 6-6 Physical Security of BES Cyber Systems. Requirements continued. Log entry of each individual with authorized unescorted physical access into each physical security perimeter with information identifying the individual, date, and time of entry. Retaining physical access logs of entry of individuals with authorized unescorted access into each physical security perimeter for at least 90 days. Restriction to physical access for cabling and communication components when located outside of a physical security perimeter. Where physical access restrictions to such cabling and components are not implemented, the following shall be implemented: data encryption that transits such cabling and components, or monitoring the status of the communication link composed of such cabling and components and issuing an alarm in response to detected communication failures to the personnel identified in the BES Cybersecurity Incident Response Plan within 15 minutes of detection, or an equally effective logical protection. CIP 6-6 Physical Security of BES Cyber Systems. Requirements: documented visitor control programs shall be implemented to include the following: continuous escorted access of visitors within each physical security perimeter except during CIP exceptional circumstances, manual or automated logging of visitor entry into and from the physical security perimeter that includes date and time of initial entry and last exit, visitor's name, and the name of an individual point of contact responsible, except during CIP exceptional circumstances. Retain visitor logs for a minimum of 90 days. CIP 6-6 Physical Security of BES Cyber Systems. Requirements: a documented physical access control system maintenance and testing program or programs shall be implemented to include physical access control systems and locally mounted hardware or devices at the physical security perimeter associated with high-impact BES cyber systems, and medium-impact BES cyber systems with external routable connectivity. Maintenance and testing shall be done at least once every 24 months. Additional evidence shall be provided to demonstrate that this testing was done, such as dated maintenance records or other documentation showing testing and maintenance has been performed. CIP 007-6 System Security Management. Purpose: to manage system security by specifying select technical, operational, and procedural requirements in support of protecting BES cyber systems against compromise that could lead to misoperation or instability in the bulk electric system. CIP 7-6 System Security Management. Applicability: Reliability Coordinator, Balancing Authority, Interchange Authority or Coordinator, Transmission Owner or Operator, Generation Owner or Operator, Distribution Provider that owns one or more of the following facilities, systems, and equipment for the protection and restoration of BES. CIP 7-6 System Security Management. Continued applicability: Each under-frequency UFLS or under-voltage UVLS load-shedding system that is subject to NERC or regional reliability standards and/or requirements and performs automatically under a common control system without human operator initiation of 300 megawatts or more. Each remedial action scheme that is subject to NERC or regional reliability standards and/or requirements. Cranking paths and element groups meeting initial switching requirements from a black start resource up to and including the first interconnection point of the starting station service of the next generation units to be started. CIP 7-6 System Security Management. Requirements: A documented process shall be implemented to include the following: enabling only logical network ports that have been determined to be needed, including port ranges or services to handle dynamic ports. If there is no provision for disabling or restricting logical ports on the device, then those ports that are open are deemed needed. Protection against the use of unnecessary physical input or output ports used for network connectivity, console commands, or removable media. A patch management process for tracking, evaluating, and installing security patches for applicable cyber assets. The tracking portion shall include the source identification for tracking the release of cybersecurity patches. CIP 7-6 System Security Management. Requirements continued. Security patches shall be evaluated at least once every 35 days, and upon completion take the following actions: apply the applicable patches, create a data mitigation plan, and revise an existing mitigation plan. Mitigation plans shall include actions to correct the vulnerabilities addressed by each security patch and a time frame to complete these mitigations. For each plan created or revised, implement the plan within the time frame specified, unless a revision to the plan or an extension to the time frame is approved by the CIP senior manager or delegate. Deploy methods to deter, detect, prevent, and correct the threat of malicious code. CIP 7-6 System Security Management. Requirements continued. For methods that use signatures or patterns, have a process to include testing and installing for the update of the signatures or patterns. Log events at the BES cyber system level or the cyber asset level for identification of and after-the-fact investigations of cybersecurity incidents that includes detected successful logins, detected failed access attempts and failed login attempts, detected malicious code, generate alerts for security events that include detected malicious code or detected failures of event logging. CIP 7-6 System Security Management. Requirements continued. Retain logs for a minimum of 90 consecutive days. Review a summary or sampling of logged events at intervals no greater than 15 days to identify undetected cybersecurity incidents. Have a method to enforce authentication of interactive user access. Identify and inventory enabled default or other generic account types, either by system, by groups of systems, by location, or by system type. Identify individuals who have authorized access to shared accounts. Change known default passwords per cyber asset capability. CIP 7-6 System Security Management. Requirements continued. For password-only access, technically or procedurally enforce the following password parameters: password length that is a lesser of 8 characters or the maximum length supported by the cyber asset. Minimum password complexity that is a lesser of 3 or more different types of characters, i.e. upper and lowercase, alphabetic, numeric, non-alphanumeric, or the maximum complexity supported by the cyber asset. Enforce password changes or an obligation to change the passwords at least once every 15 months. Limit the number of unsuccessful authentication attempts, or generate alerts after a threshold of unsuccessful authentication attempts.